Scene 2, angle A. All right? It's going to be on you guys. This is an improv bit, so have fun with it, okay? Let's remember 2 things. Pure intimidation and goofy intimidation.
Oh yeah.
That's like,
okay.
you're...
I'll be giving it to them.
People might protest. They might hold you personally accountable.
For some reason in my head, I saw it smoother, and then you came in like Preacher, Al Sharpton. Like, it was like... So now, it gives me the idea that when we reveal that you're not an attorney, you're just his boy, now you need a different tone.
Yes. Now I'm the homeboy.
Now it's the homeboy. So that can either just be your regular tone, or you can come up with a new tone. But I want it to be very different from that tone.
I got that. Yeah, I kind of got that from the script.
Okay. Yeah.
People think that alpha has to do with women. It has nothing to do with women. Alpha has to do with how many men follow you. If men follow you, you're an alpha. You have to know when to lead and when to follow. There are times where Savo's the alpha, and I gotta follow Savo's lead. You dig what I'm saying? What a bitch ass nigga would do is they won't be able to receive direction.
Fuck that, that's perfect. That's perfect on the first take.
That's a bitch.
Fuck the whole set.
It's a bitch ass nigga.
Right.
Yeah, he won't be able to receive that.
You have to let my client go. If you want to keep your job, that is.
Cut.
And I like these.
This is like...
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. In case you didn't know,
Hotep Jesus dude.
I am
That Hotep Jesus dude. That Hotep Jesus dude.
welcome back for another dope breakdown. All right, break down the news. What's going on with my hair today? What the fuck is going on? I don't know. I'm sorry. The clip you just saw is from a web series called The Adventures of Savoho. I'm getting into acting. I'm actually filming another web series, which is inspired by ancient Egypt with Shaga Agmo. So look out for that as well. I'll be starting a crowdfunding platform. So yeah, acting is something I also do, and also look out for some music. I might be rapping again, so look out for that. But real fast, shout out to our sponsor for this month, Syscoin. Syscoin has a new announcement. They are partnering with Build It Merchants, which is a gaming platform. And it says here, actually, let me just share my screen so you guys can see it. It says Build It Merchants seeks to make gaming more rewarding by offering a number of incentives for players who are already doing what they enjoy without the need to connect a web wallet or worry about gas fees. They aim to plug into players accustomed to using popular services like Steam or Epic Games and offer them additional rewards in the form of tokens or even NFTs for their achievements. Players will receive starter packs consisting of either tokens or NFTs to start their journey and be able to manage their collection from their profile account. Build It Merchants has chosen to partner with Syscoin to construct their marketplace, develop further infrastructure, and eventually onboard games to the Syscoin platform. Looking forward, we will continue to work together to import cross-chain games and create new products that combine the best of what the marriage between gaming and Web3 stands for. To celebrate the partnership, upon the launch of their platform next quarter, Build It Merchants will be offering members of the Syscoin community the opportunity to get on a whitelist to earn up to 50 of their Genesis NFTs and 2 free mints for early adopters who choose to farm their tokens and participate on the platform to earn rewards for non-crypto games. As we draw nearer to launch, we will announce how you can earn the opportunity to be one of the lucky players in the whitelist. This is really interesting for Syscoin. I mean, Syscoin has done some amazing things so far. I mean, they've basically built an infrastructure of blockchain technology that can handle financial payments, et cetera, obviously. But also they've hopped into the NFT space with their Luxy network, which empowers designers. And I'll probably do a future video on NFTs, how I feel about them, what I hate about them, what I love about them. most part, I hate them, but there's something good about them, and I'll probably do a video in the future on that. And then now their partnership with Build It Merchants for gaming. So Syscoin is something I would take a look at, man. It seems promising for one of the coins or one of the altcoins alternate to Bitcoin. Also, this channel is usually not monetized. YouTube usually demonetizes my videos, so all support you can give is reinvested back into the platform and into Hotep Nation, etc., etc. So if you'd like to make a comment or just ask a question, feel free to super chat, or you can support the channel at $ Hotep Jesus on Cash App. Shout out to Khaled Cooper, Kamar Daniel, and Renee Vogel, who have consistently supported the channel. I appreciate you. Now, let's get into today's feature presentation. Nearly 75% of Americans think the U.S. is headed in the wrong direction under Joe Biden, and more than half worry country's best years are in the past. NBC poll shows. And I'm going to stop right there. Is the country's best years behind us? Absolutely. I 100% agree. And I was talking with my followers this last week about liberalism, etc., etc. I was tweeting some things about liberalism. And then somebody brought up, conservatism, obviously. And, they tended to challenge conservatism. And conservatism is a reversion to traditionalism. And when I look at our society today, I don't see going forward, I know some people would disagree with this, but I don't see going forward as a way to repair our country, our families, our culture, etc. In fact, I think we need to revert. This is why I make the joke often about bringing the hijab into style. Now, if you're a Christian and you go look in your Bible, I'm sure you'll see something there about the tradition of people keeping their heads covered, including women, right? They leave the house. It was uncustomary to leave the house with your hair shown. You'd be looked at as a trollop. This is in your Bible. So with that being said, I do believe that a reversion to tradition is a good idea in many different ways. We need to get back to tradition. We need to get back to, I think what we need to do is we need to take a strong, hard look at families, how families interacted. I would say prior to maybe first or second wave feminism, before women entered the marketplace, we should take a look and see, how did families operate? How did they think? And revert and adopt some of that. We should also look at the other cultures. We should look at Muslim culture. We should look at Asian culture. We should look at African culture, South American culture. We need to look at all these different cultures and pick and choose what we can adapt or adopt into our culture today to secure the family, because as we already know, socialism wants to destroy the family. We've even seen that on the Black Lives Matter platform, where they wanted to challenge the nuclear family. Anyway, let's get back to today's presentation. It says nearly 3/4 of Americans think the United States is headed in the wrong direction under Joe Biden. Hold on one second. Let me just make sure everybody in the chat can hear me. Everything's going good. Okay, no trolls. All right, cool. Thank you. Let's get back to it. Okay. Nearly 3/4 of Americans think the United States is headed in the wrong direction under President Joe Biden. You think? Well, where were these people when Trump was president? You know where these people were? They were too busy being indoctrinated by their universities like Berkeley. They were too busy being indoctrinated by the mainstream media, too busy being bullied by their progressive, liberal, democratic friends on Normie Book, Instasham, and Twitter. And they made the wrong decision, many of them, when they went to the polls. And many of them had the wrong decision when they introduced their rhetoric to the public space. It says, despite grappling with low favorability ratings for much of his term already, Biden's popularity experienced a deep downturn in recent months amid growing pessimism over the economy. Well, what do you think happens when you install socialist and communist economic strategies? Expect a downturn. We're going to go and we're going to show you some information about some things Lenin said, the great communist of Russia. It says now a whopping 74% of Americans say the country is on the wrong track, while just 21% feel the nation is headed in the right direction. Who is the 21% that thinks the nation is headed in the right direction? Who are these people? These people must live in an alternate reality. These people must live in the twilight zone. It's absolutely ridiculous. Those people must be shells. They must be suffering from TDS. I don't know what it is, but yeah, if you feel that the nation is headed in the right direction right now, oh man, I got some bad news for you. It found more than half of the respondents, 58%, feel more worried that America's best years may already be behind us, with just 35% thinking the best years are yet to come. Now, I'm not too mad at people for thinking that the best years are yet to come, because maybe that's true, right? Especially since we're looking at a Trump return. We're looking at DeSantis coming right after. So there's probably 12 years of republicanism in our future, hopefully, as long as Dominion. Anyway, so it says among their main concerns, according to the poll, was the economy. 68% of respondents believe the United States is already in a recession. Yeah, anybody who thinks the United States is not in a recession, you should go ask the OnlyFans workers and the exotic dancers. Despite Biden's attestations that the economy is rebounding after the country's inflation rate hit a 40-year high in June. I mean, the fact that the inflation rate is at a 40-year high should tell you something about how America was in the past. It says in total, the poll found 55% of Americans now disapprove of the job the president is doing, while 40% approve. I don't know who this 42% is, but they must be absolutely out of their mind. That spells bad news for the president as he seeks to energize his base to cast ballots for a Democrat-controlled Congress in November. And that's another thing. If you guys are voting for Democrats, I hope it's a good Democrat. I'm not going to say all Democrats are bad, because there's many people who understand that in their district you might want to run as a Democrat and have Republican views. And I fully support decisions like that. But, for the most part, Democrats have done a very poor job. I was listening to an interview with 50 Cent the other day, who lives in New York. I'm not sure if he still lives there, but he was complaining about a 58% tax in New York. And he was looking at, he mentioned Texas as being a place he might want to move to or lives in. I'm not exactly sure on that. This is the Breakfast Club interview. And it goes to show you what happens when you add socialists to the mix. You're going to get a high tax. Because the economy continued to be a major concern for 1,000 Americans surveyed. Over the past few months, inflation has consistently eclipsed a healthy 3.6% unemployment rate as a focal point for Americans who are dealing with particularly sharp spikes in gasoline and food prices. And I just want to go ahead and let you know, in case you don't know, that the unemployment rate is pretty much a nonsensical point to bring up, because the only thing that the employment rate gives you is the amount of people that have applied for unemployment and received unemployment. If you are unemployed but you have not filed for unemployment, you are not included in the unemployment rate. So some people might think that the unemployment rate includes all people who are unemployed, and that's just not true. So if people are unemployed, they go to get unemployment, they are denied, they are not included in the unemployment rate. So the unemployment rate is actually a misnomer. They should call it the rate of people approved for unemployment. That's what they should call it. But instead, they call it unemployment rate. And these are the tricks that government officials like to pull when they use their little jargon. It says the average cost of consumer goods rose 8.5% in July after reaching a 40-year high of 9.1% in June. Householders are now spending nearly $493 more dollars each month to buy the same items they were buying a year ago. This is true. I mean, it just obviously one of them is gas prices. Every time I go to the pump, it's $100 minimum. No matter where I go, I'm spending $100. I don't like that. That's really whack. Anyway, he called it a big deal for a household making about $60,000 per year. And the funny thing is we just had the Inflation Reduction Act, which seems to be an inflation act. Yeah, inflation. Because, when you talk about the, I don't know, was it several hundred billion or close to a trillion in the bill, whatever it is, like, what exactly do you think is going to happen when all that money gets trickled down? Obviously, it's going to inflate the currency. Who knows? I guess we'll have to see. But we all know that was a climate deal, and the media has since admitted that. And I did a presentation on the Inflation Reduction Act. So if you guys have not seen that, go to that now. Anyway, the situation has since forced more Americans to seek help at food with Feeding America, a national charity reporting 45% of food banks have seen an increase in demand, typically 10% more beneficiaries. Now, granted, there are some people like Uncle Hotep who do go to the food bank, who don't need the food bank, but he does take advantage of the food bank, so I'm not exactly sure we can look at that as an indicator, but maybe we can, because obviously if people are suffering from food, they are going to go to a food bank. Also, I'm not really a fan of food banks. I think it'd be better to give out vouchers to local businesses. That's how I would solve this issue. Give them, pay the local businesses for vouchers so that we can boost the small business in the area. And I'm talking about mom and pop stops. I'm not talking about, Whole Foods or any one of these big conglomerate places. Give people vouchers to local supermarkets, owned by mom and pop people, et cetera, et cetera. And that'll help boost the economy in a local area. So I'm not really a fan of the food banks. I would rather give out vouchers to small businesses that are paid for in advance. It says now, the survey shows 56% of Americans disapprove of the president's handling of the economy, while 40% still seem optimistic. I'm not optimistic about the outcome of our economy under the Biden administration at all. And when asked their thoughts on the newly passed Inflation Reduction Act, a plurality of voters, 36% reported thinking the legislation will not make a difference in their lives, while another 35% reported thinking it would make things worse for them personally. Well, I would say that 35% is on point. It's definitely going to make things worse. For the people that's 36% who think it won't make a difference in their lives, it absolutely will, especially when those IRS agents start knocking at your door. I am in fear. Just 26% of those surveys said they thought the new law would be beneficial to them. Who are these people? These probably are like, college kids who don't know anything, right? Like, who are these people? The Inflation Reduction Act, with a total of $437 billion in spending. Let's think about that. It's called the Inflation Reduction Act, but they're going to spend $437 billion for anybody who's read any Soul or done any Milton Friedman work or studied any type of sound economic studies would understand that this is not going to reduce inflation. It's actually going to do quite the opposite. If you want to reduce inflation, stop everything. Just stop trying to fix the problem. Just stop it. Could see more households find savings as it reduces the cost of prescription drugs for the elderly, extends health insurance subsidies, and reduces energy prices. There's a lot of energy talk in that bill. But whether it will really lower the nation's inflation rate has come into question over recent weeks. The Congressional Budget Office found that enacting the bill would have a negligible effect on inflation. Duh. And the University of Pennsylvania found the impact on inflation is statistically indistinguishable from zero. Now, I don't need to go to the University of Pennsylvania, and I don't need to be in the Congressional Budget Office to know these facts. It will, however, lower the deficit by an estimated $300 billion over the next decade, and some argue lower deficit means lower inflation. Over the deficit. Yeah, I don't know about that. Yeah, I'd have to think about that, but because there's a lot in that bill, but I that doesn't sound right. Okay, Jason Furman, who is an economic advisor to President Barack Obama, wrote in the Wall Street Journal, deficit reduction is almost always inflation reducing. Yeah, that doesn't make sense either. Like those two things don't even, I don't even see those two things correlating. I think there could be, sometimes I think there could be a correlation, but I don't think there's a direct correlation between the two. Yeah, that doesn't, I would have to dive into my studies a little bit, but that I don't agree. I would not agree with Jason Furman from the cursory understanding I have over some of this stuff. It says an Associated Press fact check found that in theory, lower deficits can reduce inflation. That's because lower government spending or higher taxes, which help shrink the deficit, reduce the demand in the economy, thereby easing the pressure on companies to raise prices. That sounds sound. It seems sound. But again, I have to put some thought to that and try to visualize this thing in my mind before I give any in-depth analysis on it. Cabinet members will also travel to 23 states on over 35 trips to tout the legislation, along with other Biden victories, which includes signing burn pits legislation and the CHIPS Act into law. Now they're talking about an Al-Qaeda leader and gas prices falling. What? All right, I've had enough of this article. Actually, there's only a little bit left. Let's just get through it. Biden has previously claimed that the decline in his popularity was due to the increase in gas prices that began a year ago. Duh. I mean, amongst other things. He said that prices shot up further with Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February. Yeah. That sounds like a fib. I would guess that that's inaccurate because these things were already shooting up before the invasion of Ukraine. But he rejected claims by Republican lawmakers and some major economists that his $1 trillion coronavirus relief package from last year contributed to inflation, noting that price increases were a global phenomenon. Oh my. We're in a stronger position than any nation in the world to overcome this inflation, Biden said. If it's my fault, why is it the case in every other major industrial country in the world that inflation is higher? Maybe, just maybe, because the same banking syndicate is controlling the world. Maybe, but what do I know? But it seems like Americans have been disenchanted with Biden for months. The president's average approval rating dipped below 50% in mid-August, according to poll aggregator 538. His disapproval rating exceeded that threshold in late October. Republicans, meanwhile, are touting a series of internal polls that shows several competitive House races are moving their way, and GOP is favored to win back control of the lower chamber. Yeah, that's what it looks like. But the Senate is a tougher slog for Republicans and could remain in Democratic hands. Very interesting. Primaries going to be very important this fall, to make sure you get out and vote in your local elections. These are more important than the presidential election, although the presidential election coming up is going to be, I would say, the most important presidential election of our lifetime. Okay. So if you'd like to support the channel, ask a question, make a comment, hit the super chat button now. I'm going to show you a nice little piece of information that you might want to see. Let me fix this on your screen. Okay, so this book is called The New World Disorder by Charles Gilani, or Gilani, depending on how you say that. And I want to read what he says here. He says, please notice how Gorbachev credited Lenin as being the inspiration for the new way of thinking that is shaping the world. These chilling words of Gorbachev, a powerful leader in the globalist movement, should serve as a wake-up call for all who are even mildly acquainted with Lenin's political philosophy, which is perhaps best summed up in the following words of Lenin himself. Now, I want you guys to pay attention right here. Pay very close attention. Now, Lenin says, and I quoted this before, I believe, on my last interview with Michael Malice. It says, our power does not know liberty or justice. I'm going to repeat that one more time. Our power does not know liberty or justice. It is entirely established on the destruction of individual will. Now I want to stop right there. if we look at the boom of the OnlyFans movement, isn't that the symptom of a destruction of will, individual will? People don't have the willpower to do anything constructive, learn any real skills, which will contribute to anything beneficial to their greater man. So they've resorted to pornography. They've resorted to sex work. And I'm friends with sex workers. You know, I got homegirls who are dancers. I don't think I know any OnlyFans girls. Maybe I do. I don't know. But it's not a personal attack on them per se. This is an attack on what socialism has driven people to. Our society, the purveyors of our society, they're not pushing people to learn real skills. They're not pushing people to do anything that contributes to the benefit of others. They're pushing people, and they're like touting sex work as if this is good. Now, sex work has always existed, but has it always been looked at as something good, or something to be celebrated? Is another question. Now, I will say the only good thing about the OnlyFans thing is that women no longer have to have pimps, except some of them do have e-pimps. But now they don't have to have pimps, so I think it does help women in that manner in which they cut out the middleman, although OnlyFans, I think, takes 20%, which is a hefty fee, probably a lot less than a pimp, but I guess OnlyFans is their de facto pimp now. I don't know. Anyway, let's get back. So it says, it is entirely established on the destruction of the individual will. We are the masters. Right here, he says it. We are the masters. Complete indifference to suffering is our duty. I don't know how anybody who follows communism or socialism could continue to support such an ideology when its originators, when its forefathers are saying things like this. Complete indifference to suffering is our duty. In the fulfillment of our calling, the greatest cruelty is a merit. The greatest cruelty is a merit. Through a systematic terror during which every breach of contract, every treason, every lie will be lawful. We will find the way to abase humanity down to the lowest level of existence. That is indispensable to the establishment of our dominance. Again, going back to sex work, this is the abasement of humanity down to its lowest level of existence. Sex is very natural, but when we start to be controlled by that part of our nature, this is the lowest part of our existence. This is the lowest part of our existence. And that is exactly what Lenin wanted. If Lenin were alive today and he saw America, he would say, wow, you guys are doing such a great job installing communism. And I published my research in this book called The Patriot Report, Unmasking the Conspiracy of Money and War. It's available on Amazon and my website, briansharp.co. You can go get that. It's got all the citations in there, sources, Rothbard, Mises, etc., etc. So go get a copy of that right now. It's called The Patriot Report, Unmasking the Conspiracy of War. Unmasking the Conspiracy of Money and War. But you can start seeing how communism has crept into our government, our culture, and our economy. Shout out to Big Papi. He said Robert Reich is a clown economist. The libs love him. Yeah, that's exactly what it looks like. Freaking terrible. Ladies and gentlemen, I am
Hotep Jesus dude. That Hotep Jesus dude.
And I appreciate you for listening to today's stream. Make sure you subscribe and tune in. I'll be back again with some more analysis of our news. Hotep and Bill.